The damage caused by Hurricane Helene has started an IV shortage throughout the East Coast, and those effects are being felt here in the southern tier. Officials at UHS say one of the areas impacted by the storm was an IV fluid production plant in North Carolina. This plant is the main resource for IV fluids throughout the region. The hurricane stopped production at the plant, which reduced the production of IV fluids going to different hospitals. UHS says it had to cancel some elective surgeries due to this shortage.
As a consequence, we had to make a decision based on the fact that we're a trauma center for patient safety as to what to do with our IV fluids. What that has led to is some temporary reduction in elective surgeries so that we can make sure that we have enough fluids for emergency procedures and trauma patients.
UHS anticipates any postponed appointments will be rescheduled in the next 1 to 2 weeks. Officials at Guthrie say they have not canceled any surgeries or procedures at this time.